What is it about scary movies like Scream that make us come back for more? And can scary movies actually help us deal with fear and anxiety? Welcome to Inner Warrior, where I help pop culture fans with tips and tools to unleash their inner warrior and achieve their goals. I myself was not normally a fan of horror movies. I liked Alien and Terminator and some thrillers, but horror movies as a genre was not usually my forte. Originally, I saw them as just a series of deaths for the sake of the genre. But then, I saw the Scream series because my wife wanted us to get caught up before Scream 5 came out in theaters. If you don't know, Scream is a franchise that is all about being a self-aware meta-commentary on the horror movie genre as a whole. They poke fun of the horror movie tropes while also being a horror movie in itself. Think Deadpool of the horror movie genre. What kept me interested was not only the commentary, but the whodunit mystery of the killer's identity. Between the Scooby-Doo-esque mystery and the Lois Lane-like reporting from Gale Weathers, it kept me interested. But I wanted to dig deep and ask the question of why do we like scary movies and stories? According to the University of Chicago's behavioral scientist, Dr. Colton Scrivener, there are different reasons for different people. In an article published in BBC Science Focus magazine, Scrivener states, people who are high in sensation-seeking tend to get pleasure from extreme feelings, and horror movies are one way for them to do that. But also, they are only a sub-portion of the people who enjoy horror. He goes on to say that kids who engage in thrilling or scary play might be at a lower risk for things like anxiety later in life because they're learning how to navigate negative emotions, high arousal, and learning that they can get through those situations. At first, it may seem strange that we seek fear and anxiety in the form of scary movies like Scream, but Scrivener explains, anxiety and fear are feelings that people tend to avoid in everyday life, so we don't have a lot of practice at it. But experiencing those emotions in a playful way allows you to feel in control. It's like a flight simulator. Even an innocent game of tag is about a predator, the tagger, or it as in your it, going after prey, the kids running away. When watching Scream, anticipating the jump scare, your nervous system increases heart rate and adrenaline, among other things. Then, when the death scene is over, or Sidney manages to get away, our sympathetic nervous system calms down and our parasympathetic increases. As Scrivener explains, the parasympathetic is more of your rest and relaxation. It increases digestion. It releases those feel-good hormones, basically the same things that drugs do to make you feel good. So, by going through a dangerous situation, or in the case of a horror movie, tricking your brain into thinking you're in a dangerous situation, but then revealing that you are fine as the person that got away or was killed is not you, and that you are in fact safe, our body releases feel-good hormones. That explains why we get that rush, but there may be more to why watching Ghostface chase his victims is fun. Horror films are fun because they allow us to have control over fear, according to Associate Professor Matthias Claesen of Aarhus University in Denmark. Claesen explains, for a horror experience to be fun, you need to feel that you're in control of the experience, that you can switch off or look away when you want. He continues, I imagine that people who suffer from deeply unwelcome anxiety attacks may feel some comfort in voluntarily seeking out anxiety in controllable doses. It's like facing your enemy, but in a context where you have the upper hand. And how can horror movies help us? What are the benefits to watching Scream? According to a new study by Scrivener, published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences, Scrivener found that horror movie fans reported much less psychological stress and felt more prepared when it came to the COVID-19 pandemic, as opposed to those who did not enjoy horror films. The study states, in this study, we show that people who engage more frequently with frightening fictional phenomena such as horror fans and the morbidly curious displayed more robust psychological resilience during the COVID-19 pandemic. Moreover, watching films that deal with the social upheaval that might occur during a pandemic was associated with greater reported preparedness for the COVID-19 pandemic. So horror films are a good way to cope with fear and anxiety in a playful way so that we are more prepared for anxiety and fear in our everyday lives. In fact, horror movies make anxiety fun, as explained by University of Washington Medical Center psychologist Dr. Kristen Lindgren. Lindgren states, Horror movies can make anxiety fun for a change instead of scary. In the same way that the sensation of fear on a roller coaster feels good, that sense of high arousal you get, people with anxiety can get a rush from a scary movie. Lindgren even goes on to say that horror movies can act as a sort of exposure therapy for those with high anxiety. She explains, if you have the intention to get control of the anxiety, what you have to do is learn that you can tolerate it. Part of it is about learning what does happen when you feel afraid and blocking the avoidance. You have to hang in there and stay with it until you learn that you don't have to be worried about what happens when you feel afraid. A sentiment that Matthias Clayson agrees with, as he states, it looks like people can use horror films as a kind of sandbox, a context for playing with fears and honing coping strategies. As long as you understand your control over the horror movie sandbox, the fact that you can choose not to experience the anxiety the movie gives you, then you can use the anxiety and fear of movies, like Scream, to help you cope with and understand your anxiety. It's a good way of working with your shadow self. What's your favorite horror movie? Have you watched Scream 5? What were your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you want to learn more about how to work with your shadow self, click this video here. Or click here if you want to learn how our life is like a Metroidvania and how you can use that knowledge to obtain your goals.